Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Stephen Commander. I teach at Mount Vernon High School in Fairfax County. This summer I've been engaged in doing research at the Assist Lab. My project title is Piezo Energy Harvesting Characterization in Fluid Systems. So I'll give you an introduction. First, look at energy harvesting. So what is energy harvesting? I'm going to give a general, basic definition for energy harvesting. So energy harvesting is a way of getting energy from some systems that primarily you will not think of harnessing energy from those systems. So another name for these particular kinds of system is ambient energy that you get from these systems, because this energy already exists within the systems. So we are trying to see how we extract energy from such systems. Think, for example, about the air conditioning duct like this, for example. When you have airflow within the system, that airflow has energy in it. So energy harvesting looks at ways to harvest this energy from such systems. The ways you can do this could be as a result of motion. So you can harness energy from motion. So you're already walking from one place to another, so you can imagine that if you have a way to put something into your shoe, for example, you can get energy from your motion. Right? So one means is by vibration and motion. Another means to get energy is your body heat. Right? So this energy already exists within your system. So if you have a way, you can harness this kind of energy from your body. And then also the sun's energy can be harnessed or harvested. This is the one that is very much familiar to most people, sun's energy. So my work this summer had been with piezoelectric materials, so I did piezoelectric harvesting. So I'm going to give a quick explanation for piezo materials. These materials are very interesting materials, they're very unique, they're very powerful materials. Because one, you can use them in places where using light and heat is not feasible. Like, as I said, if you have a duct system like this, you cannot harness energy in that kind of system. So you use the vibrational motion of a piezo material, for example. They're unique because you can get two for the price of one. Because if you create vibrations in them, you can produce electrical voltage from the vibrations. Or you can do the converse. That is, if you excite them with some electrical voltage, you can end up getting vibration from these materials. So that's why these materials are very unique and very interesting to work with. So for my setup or my system, I use a system that's based on the cantilever principle. So cantilevers are systems like this where one end is fixed and the other end is free to vibrate. So this vibration is where we get the energy from our system. So for any vibration, you're interested to find the resonance frequency for your vibration. So what is resonance? Well, resonance is a situation where the vibrating system is forced to vibrate at its natural frequency. It happens that every system has a natural frequency. But if you force it to vibrate at its natural frequency, then you will sustain maximum displacement. And if you want to get energy from a vibrating system like a piezo system, you want to get maximum vibration or maximum amplitude from your system. So you always want to investigate and find out about resonance condition of the system. The experimental setup, my experimentation was based on trying to figure out how the form and function of form factor affect the amount of voltage and power you will get from the system. When we set out to work, I was so interested in doing a lot of things, but because of the time frame, I did not achieve as much as I wanted to do. But the idea was to vary these parameters and change the shape of this geometrical shape, and as well change the area and size of this, and see if that has an effect on the amount of voltage that you will get from your piezo material. What you're looking at here is the sample of the specimen I used, my piezo samples. So you can see that this has a wider base and this has a narrower base. And you can imagine, as I said, change this angle, I can move this shape to various, like a rectangle, a triangle, or a square, as the case may be. So that was part of the initial part of my experiment. So once I made these samples, I then went on to find the resonance frequency of these systems using what is called, using a shake table. So here you see the piezo material on this shake table, and you do a frequency sweep, you set the table into oscillations, and the system will respond, and you look to see where you have the maximum peak-to-peak voltage. That frequency will be the resonance frequency of the piezo material. So the next step in this was the experimentation. As you see, you have a tunnel. The blue thing you see there is a tunnel, wind tunnel, pushing wind through, and you get the system to vibrate, and you get an output voltage that was collected by the electronic systems. So this is the result. These are just preliminary results. There's a whole lot that has to be done within the time frame that we didn't do as much, but these are just preliminary results. So I'm not laying any claim to any conclusion I'm going to try to make from what I observe. What you're seeing here is the output voltage from the samples. And what you see is that what we get is an alternating voltage. The voltage is oscillating with time. So this is a sample of all the kinds of vibrations we observe. So the result from this oscillation as you change the angle was that there was a slight drop in voltage as you increase the angle of the sample. And then we also look at how you change the area, what happens to the voltage. Again, the trend seems to be similar to the previous slide, that as you increase the area of your specimen, the voltage also drops. Just a small amount. So from these observations of this result, I came to the conclusion that the output voltage decreased with both the sweep angle as well as the area of your piezoelectric harvester. And what was observed also from the result is that the sample that has the lowest measured resonance frequency gave the greatest output voltage. So having done all of this, definitely, as I said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. As a good teacher, you don't do everything. You create opportunities for your students. So these are areas we'll look at in the future. All right? So as you can see, one look probably at how turbulence affect the flow, the voltage that you get. Power and output and efficiency was something I was really interested in, but we didn't get to that point. I really wanted to do the resonance frequency calculation and check it with what we got, but I did not get too depth. I needed to get too information from the manufacturer, and he never got back to me. So, having done all of this, the students have to benefit from this. As I said in the video, my students, I teach IB classes, and my students have to do a science fair project as well as an internal assessment for their final exams. So my aim here is to take what I have learned during this time period back to school and get the students to experience this research process. Because it is very difficult for the students, and it's a very stressful time for them when it comes to coming up with a topic and performing their research science fair projects. So what I will do is the first 2 days, we'll first do, I'll explain to them what I did here, go over the process.